Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, hitting you with another brand spanking review slash recap for Kamen Rider Geats, episode 45, Where Wishes Go. This is a pretty awesome episode overall. A few nitpicks with it. Still overall enjoying Geats, and I'm hoping it ends in a pretty awesome way. But I'll get to some little, overall kind of negatives and nitpicks near the end of the whole series once we are done reviewing this episode. Okay, antivirus. Can we not today, though? Thank you. Wow. Anyway. So, episode 45, as we know from last week, that was the debut of Fantasy Nago, and she beat the ever-living piss out of Baraba, out of Premium Baraba. And then we saw Baraba's face cracked, and we saw, the real face behind it, sort of, a little bit. Somehow, actually, she's healed up, and it's not that like that anymore. I don't know why. But we start off the episode with Baraba, and she is approaching Kanado, who was Dapan, the psychopath that was in the DGP before, in the first few rounds of it or whatever, and was a high school student who, I want to say his backstory was something about trying to get on the basketball team and it didn't work, and he was about to bring a gun to school, which is why he wanted Magnum. Okay. But she meets up with him again and basically has him, join her in creating more misery. And he's, totally fine with doing that. And because he wishes for the misfortune of the world, if you will. And so it's cool to see Dapan back. I think it's interesting here and there to bring some of these other older riders back into it. But I want them to do something. And unfortunately, he doesn't do a ton. He does a tiny bit more than, say, Daichi's been doing, who does show up in this episode, too, out of the hospital with his Jamato powers. Don't know how that was. Okay, anyway. But yeah. So, move forward in the plot here, and we see Neon and her mother walking around talking, they're shopping and stuff, trying to hang out and spend time together. You can tell it's still kind of, not really tense, but kinda, and kind of awkward because it was just recently that her and Kosei sort of started to finally realize their true love for her, and they wanted her to be happy, and that she is their happiness, right? And they're proud of her for finding her own happiness, her own love, in the way that they love her. But I like that we're not just not just going right to her being just completely okay with them. I like that a lot. I was really worried that they were just going to go right into happy-go-lucky, I love you, Mom, oh my God, I'm so happy. She does care about them, and she really always has, but I wanted her to not right away be, completely okay and comfortable with them. And so far, so good-ish, I think she could be a teensy bit more distant about it, but this is Rider and Tokusatsu in general, and, they try to resolve the plots fairly easily for the kids to keep up with and teach lessons and all that good stuff. But again, I am mostly happy with how this thing's kind of resolved itself. So she is confronted by Kanado as Dapan. He transforms. We get to see his little henshin, his little, I don't know, he's choking or something. I don't know what the hell his fucking henshin pose is. It's silly. And it's Dapan Magnum versus Fantasy Nago. And she kind of beats the shit out of him, honestly. He gets a few shots in. But for the most part, she's winning until he underhandedly switches it to revolves on to having Magnum on the feet. And I can't remember what he has on the other part. I'm pretty sure it's just Magnum, but maybe he uses something else with that. I can't remember. Maybe Monster? I can't remember. Anyway, so he uses Magnum on the feet and throws out the little, foot cannon. And or foot blaster or whatever, and shoots the mom, shoots her right in the arm. And so she, of course, runs right to her mom, picks her up, and leaves. And Dapan's just sitting there laughing maniacally and doesn't go after them, which is weird because he's supposed to be causing their misery, and all he did was injure her. You'd think he'd go up to them and shoot them both in the head or something, if you're going to be a psychopath, be a psychopath. That's kind of the thing that, I wish that Rider wouldn't do sometimes, is when they have these riders come back later in the series, give them a lot more to do and a reason as to why I should give a shit as to why they came back. I think it's kind of goofy when they do this and they don't give them a lot of purpose. One big glaring example is Punk Jack. I enjoy him. I think what he's doing right now is cool, and I'm glad he came back and is still allied with Geats. But on top of it, he hasn't really done a whole lot since he came back, and it kind of bothers me a little bit, and I wish that they would do more with him. For the most part, he's trying to help Sumuri escape. That's his main plot line in this episode, if you will. And he is successful. He does get to where he's able to get her out of there. She, of course, before this, along with everyone else in the entire episode, is questioning Tycoon the entire time, telling him how, what he's doing is wrong, and that, the way he's going about trying to secure his world where his family is alive and safe again isn't the right thing, and that maybe he should try to follow Ace. That Ace is trying to do the right thing. He just doesn't want to believe him. And honestly, if you think about it, Kayla does have some decently supported and backed up apprehension for it because of how Ace has done things in the past. Ace has had a lot of, not more recently, but in the first, few arcs, had a lot of moments where he was manipulating and not telling the truth, lying, things like that, being a, sly fox, if you will. So he has reason to, not instantaneously jump on board with him. Plus, I'm sure he's probably thinking it sounds a little zealot-like, you, praise be to Ace, you should follow Ace. I get that they're trying to tell him, they mean it in the way of, support him and he's going to help you type of thing. But I can also see it from his point of view where he doesn't exactly agree with that or believe that, if you will. So he's still on the boat of trying to push Sumuri to become the creation goddess he needs her to be, to get his real wish of actually having his family back and them being safe. He tried to bring back all the victims, and in doing so, anybody that was killed in the DGP or whatever, that brought back a bunch of criminals, as we know. Michinaga is still, of course, completely on board with trying to help Ace, bring Kayla back from the edge, kind of a thing. Him and Neon actually, when they have their fight near the end, Geats 9 and Bujin Sword Tycoon, him and Neon keep Dapan away from the fight, so he doesn't get involved and screw anything up. But anyway, going back to Punkjack, he actually does get Sumuri out of there, right? Breaks her out of there. Kayla leaves just before this, and Punkjack leaves, he gets Sumuri to safety. She's able to leave, run off. And he's there fighting Geat, except he kind of gets the shit kicked out of him too, which is kind of what's been happening to Punkjack recently. So anyway, she escapes, and Geat directly contacts Ace and Neon and Michinaga at the little DGP HQ thing or whatever it's called, little space they can the safe room place or whatever. And tells them, challenges them, says, I have Kayla here, Tycoon, wishes to challenge you to a duel. It's at this time, this place, be there at exactly noon, and you guys will have your fight, and we'll decide this right now. And he's like, all right, fine, bet. All right, bet. But there's multiple times throughout the episode where he's saying that he is not going to try and hurt Kayla. He doesn't want to hurt Kayla. He doesn't want to kill Kayla. He doesn't want to cause any harm to him in any way. He just wants to break through to him to help him understand the path he's on will only lead to destruction. It's not going to lead to truly the world he needs, because he's always going to there's something in there that's always going to screw things up, some kind of monkey's paw thing, because the DGB staff are involved and they don't really want anyone's happiness. They want a show to continue with ratings. Case in point, Geat does invite these random other audience members. We've been talking about the audience members. Now it's the first time we see them. They don't even get named. They're just people with weird masks on watching the fight between Tycoon, Bujin Sword, and Geats 9. Okay. Also watching the fight is Cross Geats, and I think her name is Mello, whatever the female person is. And there's a summer movie coming out that's I think is out tomorrow as of this recording. For Geats, it's the 4 aces, blah 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 blah, whatever. It's got a basically dark version of the Geats 9. Geats 9 buckle. Right here, it's instead of white and red, it's black and blue, so kind of a cool design. It's also premium Bandai, which is ridiculous, but whatever. So he's there just kind of commenting on it, oh wow, look, they're fighting, well, just hey, a commercial, hey, remember, I'm this character, go watch the movie. And so yeah, they have their fight, and it's a pretty good fight. It's a pretty good fight between Ace and Kayla, and you can tell Ace is trying to hold back in certain ways. He's still doing that cool thing where if he causes any property damage, or even if Kayla does, he's fixing it, because of his powers. And they're kind of going tit for tat, honestly. I think he's holding back a bit, so that's why he may there's a few more hits that get in on him from Kayla here, because I feel like he probably could, if he tried, to actually really just trounce him. But he's not really trying to. And on the other hand, Kayla is pretty strong as Bujin Sword, Tycoon. So the fight back and forth. We do get to see him use Bujin sword with another buckle. So we see it with Monster and with Magnum. Or not Magnum, sorry. And I'm sorry, with Boost. So Boost Bujin sword and also Monster Bujin sword. It was pretty cool to see the suit with the other buckles attached. You know, I think that it looked honestly really cool with Boost being a part of it. The red and the black, I think, went really well together, even though there is still the green for Tycoon there. I still liked it. But he's able to at least knock Ace out of transformation. So Murray runs up after escaping from Geat and everybody, and is, begging Kayla to stop. This isn't the right way. Killing him is not going to get you what you want. It's not going to give me the power that you think that it will. And he's like, I can't believe you. I can't do that. And Ace is like, why? He's like, I know I gave you no reason to trust me when we first met, but I've given you nothing else but reasons past that to trust me. Essentially, I don't know if he says that exactly, but he's just trying to convince him, like, you do have reason to trust me. I am your friend. I do want what's best. Trust in me. Believe in me. My power will grow. And to an extent, I think Kay was seeing it as like, this sounds like a cult. But secondly, he's not understanding that Geats is being serious. Like, no, I mean, if you believe in me more and have a strong enough wish you want, it'll activate my powers just like it did with Neon, recreating her ID core and the fantasy buckle to be, attuned to her and her being able to transform again. And so he does finally sort of convince him. Kayla doesn't completely believe him, but he finally just kind of at the end of it freaks out and it's like, fine, prove it to me that you can do this. And Samuri, comes up and she's like, we can. And Ace is like, yes, because her and I, we share the same wish. All of a sudden she starts glowing. The energy pops off of her. Her hair goes back to normal, no longer white. Goes to Ace. Completely white outfit, white hair, kind of like, what was it? Sento in build when he had evil in him or whatever, and I guess like in Gaim with Fruit Jesus, Kota. Even though his is more blonde than white, but whatever. And so he's got full creation god powers. Throws the Geats 9 buckle on again, transforms, and he's like, watch, and recreates apparently a world where everybody's good, everybody's having a good time, everybody's happy, right? That's what he's wanting to go for, a world where everybody can be happy. That's where we end the episode at. We don't really see exactly where it goes past that. We do know that Geat is still trying to do what he can to have a bad end happen because the audience members he brought through want to see this. And as far as the preview for next week's episode, we do see that it's a Michinaga versus Baraba fight. Kikoro, of course, gets involved because he's a little shithead. And it's looking like Michinaga will die. I'm assuming he won't. It's just a death flag. And then either he'll almost, and then at the very last second, and then it will, the next episode will be hopefully the debut for Buffa Mao. I don't know why they're waiting so long for him, and they gave Kayla his so early. So I'm very excited for that. I do know that the movie is supposed to take place directly after episode 45. I think. I'm pretty sure. So overall, 45 was good. I think they could have completely done without Dappan being in it. He didn't really add a whole lot. And I don't remember him having much of a connection to or like a reason to like hate Neon that much. I know there was the zombie little game thing, and she revealed that he was bitten, and he actually bit her, and then she was almost went full zombie and everything. But other than that, I don't know why he was like so like hell-bent on wanting to help Baraba, who he'd never seen before even, and to like cause misery specifically to Neon. I don't understand that really, except for this world of misfortune. So yeah, I think the episode could have done without him entirely. It kind of dragged it down a little bit, honestly. He wasn't annoying, it's just he didn't add much. It was just to bring another writer back into it for just an episode seemed odd. Also, Daichi's in it for like a few seconds. He gets out of the hospital and just has his Jamato powers, which I don't fully understand because I don't know if he's all Jamato, why he would even need to go to the hospital, because he's Jamato, so wouldn't he just be able to heal eventually, and would he need normal like human medicine and like medical attention to do there's a lot of like weird goofy things there, unless he literally got out of the hospital, instantly found what he needed to inject himself again with Jamato stuff to become the same thing again. But then he just kind of leaves. So, again, Daichi's kind of a bit of a nitpick, negative thing that I'm not, like, the biggest fan of. And honestly, I will say one of the weaker parts of the show is probably villains. I think Jirori was great. I think mostly Niram was awesome. Sururu, I could give no absolute shits about at all. Geat, the same thing. He's just Sururu, but a physical person. I don't know why they didn't just combine the characters, because they both want the same thing. And some of the other riders have been cool. The little mini arc evil riders that have happened have been cool. I've had no problem with them. But the main villains, there's not really been as much of a presence for. And this is something that Don Brothers did too, right? Where the main villains eventually became allies. The Naoto eventually joined the Don Brothers. But that's not really what they're doing in this season, and I just don't feel as much of the stakes and the threat of the DGP staff, honestly, as I did before. Now that we have, Creation God Ace with Geats 9. You know what I mean? He's really strong now. He can pretty much handle it on his own, plus all his friends have their final forms, so I don't give a shit anymore. But it doesn't knock it down at all. It's not like I don't enjoy the series still. It's not that I don't think it's great. I still think it's going to be within my top 3. And I'm probably not going to knock it down out of like whatever spot that is in my top 3 just because of the villains. But it's had them to start, and then now after like Niram was gone pretty much ish, now they've not really known what they're doing with the villains, in my opinion, or like gave enough to them for me to care and have them have a presence. And so I hope for better. I hope it ends better, and I hope that they give some like time to cook for things. Baraba and Keikora have been enjoyable to watch. I'm fine with them. I want to see them go, so they're not bad necessarily. But I do want to see something more of a primary villain, and them given any kind of precedence or any kind of presence or anything, But overall, a pretty decent episode. I probably would score it somewhere around an 8 out of 10. If Dapan wasn't in it, probably somewhere like an 8.5 out of 10, maybe a 9 if I'm feeling generous. But overall, a decent episode. Let me know in the comments below what do you guys think of the episode this week. Episode 45, Where Wishes Go. Did you love it? Hit it in the middle. What did you think of the Geats 9 and Tycoon Bujin sword fight? What did you think of everything else, I guess? Stuff with Neon, with Fantasy Nago versus Dapan, him coming back. Did you feel the same way that I did? Let me know. I love seeing the comments talking about stuff. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, sharing, watching the video, subscribing. It really means a lot to me. We just recently, on Henshins and Homies, the podcast, we had one of the hosts, James, from Mostly Speaking Sentai on, talking about the enduring legacy of Super Sentai, and also our favorite 6th Rangers, so definitely check that out on the page if you haven't seen that. It's archived on our YouTube page, and as a podcast, anywhere you can get podcasts at all. But thank you guys so much for the support and the love. I really appreciate it. But until next time, stay hooked on Heroes. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.